Here I have another Revit project with 2 levels and 4 walls indicating the basic outline of a building. If I go to my south elevation, you can see I have a level 1 and also a roof level, and the walls go up to the roof level. So, if I go to my roof level for this building, I navigate to the Architecture tab, and under the Build panel, I select the drop-down under Roof. You can see here there are 3 methods of creating roofs. I can draw a roof by footprint, a roof by extrusion, and a roof by face. I can also add soffits, fascias, and gutters. I'll begin by creating a simple roof by footprint, which is effectively the footprint in plan. Select the roof tool. You can see the base level is the roof level, and I can set the base offset as I can with floors. I can edit the type of roofs, and I can create a duplicate just like I could with a floor. I'm going to set to the generic 300mm type, and I won't go through the properties as these are very similar to floors and walls, but if I go to edit type and the structure, you can see I can insert and edit the layers in here. In the draw panel, I have a number of draw tools similar to that which can be found for floor sketches. Notice I can use the pick walls tool here, which means I can actually pick and hover over walls in the model. But instead I'm just going to draw a rectangle to the outer face of the building, the 4 walls. Select. So you can see here, if I right click and cancel, I have 4 sketch lines, and each sketch line has a triangle next to it. This indicates that this face of the wall, or this edge, defines a slope. And you can see there is a parameter here called define slope, and again if I select the sketch line, it is in the properties here. I can select the angle that I wish this slope to be, so this will be the bottom of the slope, and I could change this to say 45 degrees, and I could select these 3, and I could keep the angle or change the angle here. I will set these to 30 degrees, and again they will define the roof slope. Once I'm happy with my sketch, I simply click on the green tick for Finish Edit Mode. And you can see I have a roof here, and if I go to my 3D view, I have my roof here. And you can see how if I look in the front elevation of the 3D, this left-hand side has a greater angle, steeper angle on the right, because this angle was 45 degrees. If I go to my south elevation, go to the Annotate Angular Dimension tool, select the roof, and then select the flat part of the roof. You see that is 45 degrees. Select this side, and you see that is 30 degrees. I'll just delete these. One thing to notice is that the base of the roof, if I go back into my south elevation, is at the roof level. So the base level is roof level, and the base offset from level is 0, and see how it is the bottom of the roof. Unlike floors, where it will be the top plane of the floor, that is aligned to the level when the base offset is set to 0. I can now edit the sketch in 3D. So I can select on the roof, select on Edit Footprint in the Modify Roofs tab that has now appeared. See how I can see the sketch lines. I can select the line that is 45 degrees, and if I untick Defines Slope and finish the sketch, you'll see now this edge does not define a slope and is the result of the geometry and slope defined by the other 3 edges. If I were to edit footprint again, and if I were to select all 3 edges and untick define slope, so now I have no slopes defined on any of the edges of the roof, and click finish, I will end up with a flat roof. I'll edit the footprint again and change these back to 30 degrees, like so. If I edit the footprint again, I can select an offset from roof base property. So I could set this offset to 200, and this will push this sketch line above the roof level by 200 millimeters. I click finish edit mode to show you. You can see how it is aligned here. If I edit footprint, select and move it to -200, you'll see how it drops below. If I then want to align the eaves being the edges, I can edit footprint. I can use the align eaves tool. Make sure I select adjust height. Select the eave I want to align to, so in this case this eave here with the 0 offset, and then I want to select an eave to align to. There. I click cancel. You'll see that the offset from roof base has returned to 0. Finish the sketch, and the eaves are now aligned to what they originally were set at. Alternatively, if I didn't want to define the angle of each roof eave, I can actually use a slope arrow instead. So I'm going to remove the define slope property from these 4 sketch lines, go into my roof level drawing, and then go into the slope arrow tool, and here I can draw an arrow where the tail of the arrow must be on the edge of the roof sketch. I can draw an arrow, and then I can specify the height at tail, or I could specify the slope, so the angle. But I could set the level at the tail to be the default, which would be the height of the roof. I can set the height offset at tail, and then the level at the head, which will be up here, and I can set the height offset at the head here. So if I were to simply draw from here upwards and finish edit mode, go into my 3D, you can see that the roof just has one slope in a singular direction. You can select the roof in 3D, click edit footprint, and you can see the slope arrow, how it is positioned in relation to the slope. If I go to the east elevation, you can see the slope here. Just delete this reference plane. And if I use the measure tool and select the underside of the roof and go down, you can see how that offset there is at 3000. I'll go back to my roof level plan, select the roof, select edit footprint. I'll actually bring this slope down to here, and then I will draw another slope arrow going the opposite direction. And here I could specify that the height offset at the tail is 2000 millimeters. Click the finish edit tool. Go to these, and you can see how it has created the shape here. If I go back to my roof level, edit footprint, this line is 2.4 meters long. So at the end of 2.4 meters, it should be 2 meters tall. So I will just finish edit mode, go back to my east elevation, navigate to the architecture tab. I'm going to draw a reference plane. I'm going to set an offset of 2,400 millimeters. I will zoom in, select the edge of the roof, and I will draw my reference plane here. I then use the modify measure tool. I can snap to the intersection points here and go down to the roof level, and you can see that the height is 2,000 millimeters there. So that's how it works out the geometry to get these two angles. I can select the roof and I can change the rafter cut. So if I just zoom into the side, this is currently set to plumb cut. I could change it to 2 cut plumb, and I could change the fascia depth to 200. So this extends the underside down flat 200 millimeters. Change that back to 0. Or I could change to 2 cut square, and I could change this down, this fascia depth to 100 millimeters, and it changes the corner here to make it square. So I look at the difference between the two. I'll go to my east elevation, 2 cut plumb, gives you a nice 90-degree angle here, and 2 cut square gives you a 90-degree at the top of the roof. Change this back to plumb cut. I'm now going to delete this roof, go back into my roof level floor plan. I'm going to go to architecture, roof by footprint. I'm going to use the pick walls tool. So this now allows me to select the walls of the roof. I can extend into core if I want. I can automatically define the slope, and I can also select an overhang. So I'm going to set an overhang of 400 millimeters. Here. I can also then choose with this sketch line to set the offset from the base. I'm going to untick define slope for this sketch line, and I'll click finish edit mode and go back into my 3D. So you can see now how there is an offset of 400 millimeters. I'll just draw a dimension. I press tab to select the wall. There is a 400 millimeter offset or overhang on the dimension. If I select the wall, select edit footprint, I can select the sketch line and I can change the overhang. Note that if I decide to move the wall in 3D, say 1000 meters, the roof will move with the wall as well, maintaining the 400 millimeter overhang. If I go into this section that I've drawn and zoom into one side, I'll just delete this reference plane. You'll see that the wall does not extend up inside the roof and join it nicely. If I drag the wall up, you can see it overlaps. And also if I move the wall up, so I change the base offset to 200 millimeters above the roof level, the wall does not extend up with the roof. undo that. What I can do is I can use the attach tool. So I can select the wall, use the attach top and base tool. I can choose whether to attach the top of the wall or the base of the wall. So if I had a floor element underneath, I could attach the base of the wall to the floor. I'll choose top because I obviously want to attach the top of this wall. And I can now select the roof, and you can see how the wall has now been attached to this roof. If I change the base offset from level of the roof to say 200 millimeters, you can see how the wall extends up. Notice that this overrides the top offset value of the wall. So I could type in, say, 1000 millimeters for the top offset, and it will not change the height. Notice that you also cannot see the drag arrow that you would normally be able to see from an unattached wall. So this is just something to note as the reason why you may be able to not change the height of a wall in section. This is more apparent when you have a flat roof or a flat floor, because it's clearly not cut at an angle. If I go back into my 3D view, again, this wall is not automatically attached. Neither have these walls, so I can hover over one wall, select tab to select the chain of walls, click attach top and base, I want to attach the top, select the roof, and you can see how the walls are now attached. In particular, this wall has extended upwards. If I were to edit the footprint of this roof, change this sketch line angle slope to 45 degrees, finish the edit mode, you can see how the wall adjusts to the shape of the new roof. To detach a wall from a roof, I can simply select the wall, detach top and base. I then want to select the element that is attached to, and it will reset the shape to the top constraint properties set here. I will just undo that. If I don't know what element the wall is attached to, and I just want to detach it from all of its elements, I can detach top and base. I can click detach all, and it will detach it from every element it is attached to. So there could be a roof above it and a floor below it, and the detach all tool will detach the wall from every component. Notice that because the wall is not attached to anything, the detach all is grayed out. I will attach the wall back to the roof. I can now add roof fascias, gutters, and soffits. I will just edit the footprint of my roof, align the eaves, adjust the height, so it's consistent. Under the Architecture tab, Roof, I can select Roof Fascia, which activates the Fascia tool. You can have a number of types of fascia. If I select Edit Type for this simple fascia, it is constructed of a profile, which you can pick from a family and type, and a material. So I've got plastic grey set here. Click OK. To attach the fascia, all I must do is select an edge of the roof. Notice I can select the top or the bottom of the roof. You should be consistent in whichever element you attach to. I can just select each edge of the roof, including the angled edges of the gable end here, and then I can right click and cancel once I've completed. I can select the fascia, and I can add and remove segments. So I can add, and if I select on a segment that's already been added, it will remove it. I can select on the fascia. I can change the vertical offset. So if, for example, it needs to be 100 millimeters above the edge or minus 100 millimeters, that will change. If I go into my east elevation, you can see here, I can also set a horizontal profile offset. I can set that to 100 and it will shift the fascia off 100 millimeters, for example, like so. I'll reset these to 0. Now I can add a gutter. So I can go to the roof tool again, drop down, roof gutter. Again, I have a gutter type selected here. If I had multiple, I would have a multiple to choose from in the drop down. Edit type. And again, it is created from a profile family, and also I can assign a material to the gutter as well. The principle is just the same. I select on an edge. Note that I can select on the edges of the fascia. So again, be careful and pick which edge you want to choose as the reference carefully. I'm just going to select this fascia here. And you see it creates the chamfer corner, like so. Note that I can't add it to angled edges of my roof. There we go. So that has added a gutter in there, like so. Again, I can add or remove segments as I need to. Finally, I can add a roof soffit, which is a sketch-based soffit. So I'll create it on the roof level. Yes. I can create multiple types. If I select edit type and structure, I can make it out of a number of layers, similar to a roof itself or a ceiling or floor. I'm just going to keep this basic generic 25mm soffit. And it's best to draw this in a plan view, so I'm going to go to a ceiling plan. Level 1. So I can see the inside edge of the soffit here. I can pick a roof edge. And then I could pick some walls to automatically create my sketch, like so. I don't want it on the gable edge, so I will use the split element to split. Actually, I don't need to use that. I can just use the trim tool to trim these edges together and delete the soffit. Click Finish Edit Mode to my 3D. And you see I have a soffit here. Obviously I will need to change the height. So I can go to a section. And if I want, I can simply use the Move tool. Snap on the underside or the bottom. Move it down. And there I have a soffit underneath. If I look under there, I have my completed soffit.